Hello and welcome to This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. On this week's presentation, we bring you highlights of the GRDB's Open Day held at the Burma Rice Research Station. Now, this event is an annual one and comes as part of activities marking Agriculture Month every year. You know, October is designated Agriculture Month, and the Ministry of Agriculture hosts a series of activities all across the country. These activities are hosted by the various agencies within the Ministry of Agriculture. So the GRDB's Open Day event was held recently at the research station, and it was attended by a wide cross-section of Guyana's farmers, rice farmers from all the rice growing regions of the country. It also included stakeholders who came to see the progress being made in terms of research and development, all in the interest of building the local rice industry, and they were all amazed at what was revealed to them in terms of the progress being made at that station. School children, including those from the Guyana School of Agriculture, they were also there on hand to be part of the day's activities. One of the booths on display at the Rice Research Station was condiments, if you like, showcasing the mix of rice flour and wheaten flour for the production of stuff like bread and pastries. There was a tasting exercise there. We'll show you some of the items, condiments, if you like, on display. This Week in Agriculture is produced for television by Matrix Video Productions and Advertising based in East Berbice. We will be back after these messages. It is vitally important for a rice farmer to guard against an invasion of the dreaded weed commonly referred to as red rice, red or jaranga. If allowed to grow unchecked in your rice field, can result in significant losses, both in terms of quality and quantity of paddy harvested. Control of red rice can be achieved using an integrated approach of using clean seeds, effective water management, that is, growing the young rice plants under flooded conditions, roguing or uprooting the weed by hand, among others. If red rice in the field is still a problem before heading takes place, then the weedicide glyphosate can be applied selectively. This is done using an ordinary cotton rope dipped in a bucket containing the glyphosate mixture. After being saturated with the weedicide and squeezed to ensure no dripping occurs, the rope is then dragged across the tops of the red rice to ensure the wetting of its leaves. Extreme care should be taken to ensure that the rope does not touch the rice plants. This method has been found to be very effective as a last resort to eradicate red rice from your rice field. A message from the Rice Research Station, Guyana Rice Development Board, Ministry of Agriculture. Don't you miss this year's World Food Day exhibition and fair set for the Gaizuko LBI compound on the east coast of Demerara, October 16. This year's theme, Our Actions Are Our Future. Healthy Diets for a Zero Hunger World. This event is a collaborative effort between the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO and the Ministry of Agriculture. It will feature booths exhibiting agriculture in its many forms: fresh produce, agro-processed foods, byproducts such as craft, and a whole lot more. A variety of foods prepared by the various partner organizations will also be there for the sampling. The feature presentation will be an address by His Excellency President David Granger. Admission is free. The MMA ADA is reminding lessees in the scheme that the payment of D&I charges and land rental is not a choice, but a condition stipulated in the leases they were given for the lands they now occupy. The MMA further states that failure to comply with all aspects of the conditions as set out in the agreement of lease can result in the revocation of said leases of those who are in breach. The MMA commends those farmers who have been making a special effort to pay their due to the authority in a timely manner. and notes that the refusal of farmers in making payments is sabotaging the efforts of the entity in executing its mandate. The authority takes this opportunity to call on delinquent farmers to visit the MMA office at Onvoact as soon as possible with a view to working out a payment plan. Farmers who refuse to heed this latest call will be dealt with according to law. A message from the MMA ADA Ministry of Agriculture. On Thursday last, the Guyana Rice Development Board hosted its open day activity in which farmers from across the country converged at the GRDB's Rice Research Station at Burma Maikoni for a first-hand look at the strides being made by the board's research team there at Burma. The activity forms an annual part of Agriculture Month celebrations and was also attended by a cross-section of stakeholders of the local rice industry. Also present were students of secondary schools as well as from the Guyana School of Agriculture. Among those taken on a tour of the research plots by Chief Scientist Dr. Mahendra Prasad was Agriculture Minister Noel Holder and other senior Ministry of Agriculture officials. Included in the plots on display were those for advanced trials, new varieties of paddy that will soon be ready for commercial trials in the fields of farmers across the country. Among the varieties in final stages of trial was for an aromatic variety, which the minister was told is very promising. Among the many trials underway was an evaluation of the Brazilian varieties of rice illegally introduced to Guyana's rice farmers under quarantine. At the end of the evaluation of the production parameters of these varieties, a decision will be made in relation to its suitability for official acceptance as a variety of choice. Also briefing the ministerial team on the work of the research station was plant pathologist Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who spoke of the strides being made in the development of disease-resistant varieties of rice, as well as the development of management strategies to mitigate against diseases such as brown spots and black tip. Across at the seed cleaning facility, the team was shown the stockpile of seed paddy ready for the farmers' fields and the seed cleaning and bagging process underway. During the formal ceremony, Chief Scientist Dr. Mahendra Prasad spoke of the strides being made in terms of research at the station, not only from the standpoint of developing new varieties of rice, but also the menu of agronomic measures needed to ensure that farmers are able to realize the genetic potential of varieties released. Dr. Prasad stressed that while the research has been done, the transfer of technology to the farmers is an ongoing process, one in which the farmer is exposed to the finer techniques of managing disease and pests that pose economic threats to the farmer's crop. In his presentation, General Manager of the GRDB, Mr. Nizam Hassan, posited that the role of the research station in the development of the local rice industry is one mandated by law that established the board and the research station. It is a law that also mandates the effective and the continuous transfer of the results of those research efforts to our farmers across the country, be it new varieties of rice, improved agronomic practices, a more effective integrated pest management system for the management of pests and diseases, etc. This has and continues to be the guiding principles of all that is undertaken at the station.
The performance of the industry itself, as it is now, compared to what it was a few years ago, because it's an ever-evolving and growing industry, shows that the research has been positive, and has been useful, and has been successful. Some of the farmers will know in the earlier days when we were producing 15, 20, 25 bags per acre, and now we are up to 45, 50, as much as 60 bags. Some farmers are getting. We have higher yielding varieties. Our varieties are blast resistant. The challenges that we experience in terms of pests and diseases are being worked on, because the issues of climate change will always pose work for researchers. So it's an ongoing effort. So the research is being done here across the regions, and that information, the results of that research, is then transmitted through our extension department and other means to the major stakeholders, primarily the farmers.
The general manager stressed that while the station has been engaged over the years in what can be termed production-oriented research, that is, to do with improved varieties, higher yielding, disease-resistant, and so on, it has also been undertaking research in downstream processing for value-added production.
We also have started work on research on downstream processing or value-added research, value-added processing of the rice, because we don't want to be a nation that only exports rice as a commodity, notwithstanding that we have some millers who have branded the rice, and so you have different brands that are being exported, but we also want to add value, take rice as an ingredient and make other products. So we have started some work on that.
Mr. Hassan also disclosed a new initiative to be undertaken by the board, an initiative called Strengthening Rice Production Monitoring System in Guyana and investigating the value chain opportunities.
This is an FAO, Government of Guyana FAO project. It's going to be running for 2 years. And there are two main pillars or objectives of this program. First is to design an upgraded, digitized system and methodology to monitor rice production. Currently, the farmers know that they interact with the extension officers, where they provide data, which is converted into information based on land preparation, based on how the crop is going, fertilizer application, any pest and disease issues they have, harvested, and so on. That is done with that kind of a contact, and it feeds through a system that is currently semi-manual. When it gets to the offices, then it gets into the computerized process. But in this project, we are hoping to digitize and get as good as possible and as real-time as possible data on harvest, on what is happening in the industry. So as an example, the extension officers may come into the field, talk to the farmers, have with them smart instruments where they would be able to take your data and immediately upload it, so that at any one time, the managers of the industry can be able to say, what is the age of how many acres of crop and so on. This is not to say that we don't know this now, but it's just a process of digitizing it. The second aspect of this project is a value chain assessment of the sector. Now, I mentioned earlier that a lot of the work has been through production-oriented research, and we want to add value to rice. We want to create more products. We want to have a sustainable value chain, right? Especially for students, you don't only want to export rice as a commodity, you want to further develop your industry. And as such, an in-depth analysis of the sector, both in the supply and demand side, will be done, and it's needed to identify the competitive advantage of the sector, as well as the gaps and challenges for diversification in order to increase the sector's profitability and sustainability.
One of the initiatives coming out of this project is benefits of using blended flour. That is, rice flour mixed with wheaten flour for the making of bread and pastries.
For instance, investigating the possibilities, as we have already started and we have done with blended flour, where we've done research work and have positively and can confidently claim that with 20% rice flour and 80% wheaten flour, we can produce pastries and other products that we would normally use 100% wheaten flour. Now you can imagine the impact of such research in terms of when it gets into commercial production. Because there now you would need 20% less wheat, which would mean less funds that will be needed to import in the wheat, and also you will be creating jobs and opportunities and further help to develop the sector and the country as a whole.
As it relates to the use of blended flour for the making of bread and pastries, this reality was on display for all, to not only taste but to feel the texture of the bread and the various pastries. Minister Holder, Permanent Secretary Ms. Delman Ned were among those sampling the results of baking with blended flour. Almost everyone sampling the cakes and pastries, bread, etc., were amazed as to the texture and moistness of the eatables. Commercial production of the blended flour should begin soon. Also revealed during the General Manager's presentation was a move to share with farmers a new and modern menu of practices aimed at realizing the full yield potential of the various varieties, both those already in use and those to be released in the near future.
The extension team will be promoting a set of new agronomic practices, or revised, I should say, revised agronomic practices to better manage the challenges of the industry. One of the major pest challenges we've heard is the incidence of paddy bugs. But I don't think we need to be alarmed. Paddy bugs, as we've heard, it's been there, it will be in the industry. What we need to do is to work with the recommendations, because the recommendations are coming from both our local experts as well as international experts. So in terms of our work as we go forward, we will continue to work with our local experts, but we also have gotten input and advice from other experts outside of Guyana, and other countries have experienced these challenges and have found ways to manage these challenges successfully. So back to what I have said, and I'm saying about the agronomic practices, especially with regards to production. For the first crop of 2020, which will start in the latter part of this year, I am strongly imploring our farmers to interact with our extension officers as we roll out this new, revised program for agronomic practices, and some of it you already know in terms of the planting time and so on. But there are things that we want to emphasize on and encourage you to do. Some of the farmers are doing, and that is the issue of seed treatment. Some farmers do seed treatment. Some farmers don't do seed treatment. There are benefits to be derived from using the seed treatment, and the issues, all the other issues in terms of the revised agronomic practices.
In his address, Agriculture Minister Noel Holder praised the efforts of Guyana's rice farmers, pointing to the movement of the national paddy harvest yield up from just over 5 tons per hectare to just over 6 tons per hectare. He said the rice industry is one of the most critical contributors to agriculture GDP in Guyana.
Approximately 6,020 farmers produce rice in regions 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And there are 43 licensed rice millers and 22 registered exporters of rice. Rice accounts for 3.3% of Guyana's total gross domestic product and 20.5% of agriculture GDP, and is therefore one of the most significant agricultural industries. In 2018, Guyana produced 627,105 metric tons of rice and exported 75% of this amount, that's 470,313 metric tons, amounting to $186 million in exports. And at August 2019, we have exported rice commodities to the value of $148 million, $148 million. More so, we exported approximately 14 types of rice and rice byproducts. The second crop of 2019 is currently 42% completed at over 227,793 tons, that's 37,714 hectares, at 6.04 tons per hectare, as of October 7th. Average rice yields have constantly been growing in Guyana. In 2018, our farmers recorded 6 tons per hectare, a 5% increase from 2015, which was 5.5 tons per hectare, and a 37% increase from 10 years ago, which was 4.2 tons per hectare.
This overall improvement in the performance of Guyana's farmers gives credence to government's commitment to ensuring that all support systems are in place to continuously support the productive effort nationally.
It is due to government's commitment to the overall expansion of the industry, and specifically to our investments in research and development. The improved agronomic practices for rice cultivation being transferred to farmers by the extension program that works closely with researchers are also contributing factors.
Minister Holder also spoke of the contributions of the Rice Research Station at Burma. He described it as one of the best in the region to date.
The GRDB's Rice Research Station in Burma has a reputation of releasing high-yielding rice varieties on a regular basis. Within the past 25 years, since 1995, the Rice Research Station has produced 14 new high-yielding varieties for commercial cultivation. This is no accident. It is a result of massive financial investments in a well-conceived and executed program. The Guyana Rice Development Board's expenditure averaged some $372 million annually to execute its program at the Rice Research Station. This represents 43% of its overall expenditure. I am proud to say that our rice breeding program is among the best in the Caribbean region. Seed production is one of the main inputs in rice farming. Improved seeds of suitable varieties have often been a source of growth around the world, as well as here in Guyana. The high-yielding rice varieties, like the hybrid rice in China, have significantly contributed to the transformation of Chinese agriculture since the 1980s. An appropriate seed policy enables the supply of good varieties to farmers at a reasonable cost. The value of quality seeds in a production system cannot be overemphasized. Good quality seed can increase yields by 5.2%. The GRDB, through its Rice Research Station, has made significant efforts to improve performance in seed production. For the spring crop 2020 sowing, the GRDB will have over 10,000 bags of high-quality seed for farmers across the country. Furthermore, modernization of the Burma seed facilities will be a reality for the first crop in 2020, as GRDB installs its seed cleaning equipment. Finally, to ensure timely access to high-quality seeds to our farmers, GRDB will be expanding its geographical coverage by decentralizing seed production in regions 2, 3, and 6.
The Agriculture Minister also spoke of the pending release of new high-yielding paddy varieties in the year ahead.
I am advised that during 2019, over 5,000 breeding lines are being studied, with 16 of these being tested in multi-location trials to develop new varieties. Studies are being conducted on 14 aromatic breeding lines to develop another aromatic variety. One candidate variety is being considered for release, and GRDB will begin testing in farm field trials in 2020. Furthermore, the research station takes pride in the efforts to maintain the genetic purity of all varieties, and maintaining germplasm has been a priority. It is noteworthy that the Rice Research Station has screened over 5,000 rice germplasm lines for disease resistance in 2019. Strategies have been developed to manage grain discoloration, which are being transferred to farmers for their adoption. Given the recent outcry of farmers regarding the negative effects of paddy bug infestations, and in order to effectively reduce its economic impact on rice cultivation, the GRDB has placed emphasis on prioritized training in the management of paddy bugs at the farm level. To develop new strategies to combat this pest in Guyana, the GRDB has placed emphasis on 5 research areas. These include 1. National monitoring. 2. Finding the multiplication and survival sites of paddy bugs. 3. Commencement of a biocontrol program. 4. national sensitization on the impact and management of paddy bugs, and 5, evaluation of insecticides and their efficacy.
Minister Holder also referred to the value-added project, saying that it will lead to a significant reduction in import costs for wheaten flour.
One of the board's new areas of activity is value addition, with the aim of promoting the utilization of Ghana's rice locally. It specifically focuses on minimizing the $3 billion importation cost of wheat flour by producing rice flour on a large scale for blending or replacement. As such, there are products, types of pastries, bread, roti, cakes on display made from the findings of the physical and sensory analysis of trials done by this new department that can be commercially produced in Guyana using rice flour.
The issues of climate change and its ongoing impact in coastal agriculture in Guyana was also highlighted by Agriculture Minister Noel Holder. He pointed to recent floods caused by overtopping and pointed to the urgent need for constant evaluation and action in the face of this phenomenon.
It is well known that our agriculture is concentrated on the low-lying coastal zone situated approximately 5 feet below sea level. Due to the effects of climate change, tidal water levels are much higher, and the measurements of the tides are increasingly being recorded above normal levels. Over the past weeks, agricultural communities, cash crop and rice, of regions 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 have faced flooding due to overtopping and in some cases breaches in the sea defense by the high tides. Please be on the alert to assess and adjust on a continual basis these climate change issues. Therefore, going forward, the sea defense structures will have to be augmented, along with an expansion of the industry to higher ground. Regarding the latter, I am happy to see the expansion of rice production in the hinterland. One demonstration plot was established at Quarry Village in the Rupununi region, in Region 9, in 2018. Areas identified for expansion include Sholinab, Mokomoko, Aishalton, and Masara.
Also present at the open day was Chairman of the Board of Directors of the GRDB, Mr. Claude Housty, as well as several members of the board. Don't you miss this year's World Food Day exhibition and fair set for the Gaizuko LBI compound on the east coast of Demerara, October 16. This year's theme, Our Actions Are Our Future. Healthy Diets for a Zero Hunger World. This event is a collaborative effort between the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO and the Ministry of Agriculture. It will feature booths exhibiting agriculture in its many forms: fresh produce, agro-processed foods, byproducts such as craft, and a whole lot more. A variety of foods prepared by the various partner organizations will also be there for the sampling. The feature presentation will be an address by His Excellency President David Granger. Admission is free. Well, that's all the time we have on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. Remember, later on in this week, we have a grand tasting exercise at the Umanayana. You want to be there. It's a showcase of all things made with rice and rice byproducts, eatables, that is. So you want to be there and be part of this exciting initiative by the Guyana Rice Development Board. They will also be launching later this week a initiative where wheat and flour will be mixed with rice flour and so on. You'll learn more about it as we go along. Until next time then, I'm Christopher Holder saying so long, see you around.